Welcome back to the FTN NFL Draft Preview Series. I'm your host, Mike Randle. Follow me on Twitter at RandleRant. We continue to move through each of the 32 NFL teams to get you ready for the NFL Draft, Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl, all the information you need here at FTN. And I have my people, my go-to people that are the Yodas of these teams that give us information. And none is better than Marcus Mosher here. Follow him on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. He is the managing editor at the Raiders Wire and a writer at PFF. Just fantastic insight. He covered the Cowboys for us, and he is back for the Las Vegas Raiders. Marcus, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Mike. How are you?
Good. This is certainly one of the teams with we have a big spotlight on, because at the most important position, which is quarterback, Derek Carr was announced a few weeks ago. They are moving on from Derek Carr after 9 seasons. So talk about that, how that went down, the decision. Where do you think, he's going, and what do you think their plans are for quarterback here for the Raiders?
Yeah, I think Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, their GM, and Derek Carr were all going into the 2022 season with an open mind. And I thought they believed that it would work out and that this would be an offense that would be, able to compete with the Chargers and the Chiefs in the AFC West. Didn't happen. And then once they got some word that there might be some veteran quarterbacks available this offseason, such as Aaron Rodgers, maybe Tom Brady, who's now retired, they decided to bench Derek Carr, who had like $60 million guaranteed left on his contract if he were to get hurt. Raiders didn't want to take that chance. They sent him home. Funny enough, now he's playing in the Pro Bowl, where if he gets hurt, his contract would be guaranteed. That's another story. But it's just clear that they need a change of scenery. They need a new start. Who that new quarterback is going to be, I don't know. It's going to be tough to see what they can pull off now.
Yeah, what do you think the deal is with Aaron Rodgers? I mean, the rumblings I'm hearing from Green Bay is that he does want out. Of course, Davante Adams there. The Raiders think, they can compete. They just get a quarterback. I mean, how realistic do you think it is with Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, I think it's pretty realistic for the sense that Green Bay doesn't want to trade him inside the NFC. So that cuts your options in half.
Yep.
And would you rather go play in Las Vegas in a dome with your former teammate and Davante Adams, or would you rather go play in New York with the Jets in the cold in one of the most competitive divisions in football? Well, both divisions are competitive. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how Rodgers feels about that. I don't know whether he would like to be a little bit closer to the West Coast after growing up there. But I do think it's the Jets and the Raiders that are going to be competing for Aaron Rodgers' services this offseason.
Interesting. Let's turn to running back here. I had my doubts when Josh Jacobs came in the league, whether he could be a full 3-down running back, but certainly a fantastic season here for Jacobs. 1,653 yards, 4.9 per carry, 12 touchdowns. The receiving game, he had 64 targets, 53 receptions. I mean, really had a fantastic contract year. What do you think that's going to translate in terms of the Raiders committing to Jacobs?
I don't think the Raiders had any intention of giving him a second contract after they declined the 5th-year option, after they had him playing in the Hall of Fame game.
That's right. Yes.
But at the same time, I don't think they anticipated him playing this well and being the NFL's leading rusher and being named a first-team All-Pro selection. So I think he's made this decision a little bit more difficult. However, if you kind of go back to Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler and what they did in New England, they really never paid any of their running backs more than a couple million per year. I think Jacobs would like to return, but I think ultimately he will leave in free agency.
I'm always curious, Marcus, before we get to the draft prospects and who they could be targeting, Josh McDaniels, when these decisions are made, I always want to know the prism by which they're made. Is he on the hot seat at all in terms of what happened this year, or they're committed to him so he's able to look at it as a multi-year plan?
Yeah, I think Mark Davis, the Raiders owner, is very committed to seeing this thing through. And they knew that this year, the hope was that the stars that they brought in, Davante Adams and Chandler Jones, were enough to get this team over the top. It was clear pretty early on that the rest of the roster just wasn't ready. So now they're going to reset a little bit, try to get things in order. But no, I don't. I think even if Josh McDaniels has another bad year and they go 5-12, that he's not losing his job.
Okay, great. And then we look at the Raiders draft picks now. They have a bevy of picks here, 9, including a pick 7 overall, then pick 38, pick 70, so spaced out, and they got 2 7s and 2 5s as well. What do you think is their plan that they're looking for to bolster here? Of course, Jacobs, could be an issue if he leaves, but what are you thinking? Offensive line, defensive line, where are they going here? Do you think will be the overall focus for the Raiders draft in 2023?
There's only two options here, right? Number one is if you don't trade for Aaron Rodgers and you keep that number 7 pick and you bring in a stopgap quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo or Jacoby Brissett, that's when you go out and you draft a quarterback like Will Levis or CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson. Sit them behind a Brissett, let them learn. I think that's very realistic. But if they do trade for Aaron Rodgers or they get somebody else, I think you're looking at offensive line. I think Paris Johnson, an offensive tackle from Ohio State, makes a lot of sense. Broderick Jones, Peter Skoronski from Northwestern. They want to build the trenches. So it's either going to be offensive line or quarterback at that number 7 pick.
So you're looking offense with the first pick and then possibly defense with subsequent picks here to bolster all the way around.
Yeah, I would almost have to assume that the rest of the draft minus a pick or two is going to be on defense, especially defensive tackle. They were so bad at that spot last year. Corner, they were picking guys up off the street, having them play. So yeah, expect round 1 to be an offensive player, rest of the draft to be defensive heavy.
All right, last question, then we'll get you out of here. What do you think in terms of a timeline? When do you think we'll have an idea, tipping point, okay, they're going with Rodgers or not? What time frame do you think that would make that decision where they would have to pivot then and say, you know what, we're going with a veteran? Maybe strike gold with like a Geno Smith who came in, was fantastic for Seattle. Find someone like that.
Yeah, I think early on, because I think these quarterbacks are going to be gobbled up pretty quickly in free agency. If you happen to miss on Rodgers, you don't want to miss on Jimmy Garoppolo or Jacoby Brissett or Daniel Jones if he were to hit the market, because after that, the drop-off is pretty stark. Then you're getting down to the kind of the career backups like a Marcus Mariota or an Andy Dalton, and you just can't sell those guys to a franchise where at least Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Hey, he played with Josh McDaniels before. He's been to a Super Bowl. He wins a bunch of games. I don't love that option personally, but I can get it from a marketing standpoint. Andy Dalton and Mariota just don't do it for you.
Totally got it, folks. Marcus Mosher, most efficient interview I have here on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher, managing editor for the Raiders Wire, MPFF. Just great content, great person as well. Marcus, love to have you back as we get close to the draft here to do some sort of ins and outs after that quarterback chip falls and see where the Raiders are going to go here. A lot of options, explosive team, just have to put all the pieces together.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
Thanks so much for joining us.